Listen, can I pause on something you said though? Because I
Yeah.
think there's something right there that could be missed that is such a gem. You saw and acknowledged how much better his production skills were than yours,
Yeah.
and then decided, well, let me use this other ability I have to grow something with him. This is James Rousseau, a.k.a. Trig, and let me welcome you to the CoreLink Solutions Show. I think project planning and strategy, right?
Yeah.
And maybe start with strategy and even the initiation of a new artist relationship. What does that look like for you now? Like when you think about when you first started or even 10 years ago, how much different is it for you now when you first engage with a new artist?
Man, so that's taking it from, and this is great for a producer. I was a producer first. Just, Trig was also a producer.
Yep.
So all the producers, man, we feel you. Because you almost kind of have to build a label, right,
Yes.
to do things. So I never meant to have, I guess I didn't mind having a label. I just never meant to be this.
Mm,
I always saw myself as being a creator of
gotcha.
music. But I'll be honest, what kind of got me to this point, this is important to say to get to the answer to the question, but seeing other people be great at what they were doing and realizing I could get behind that.
Got it.
When I met Derek and heard him produce the first time, I was like, this guy's crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. Like, so.
Still to me, by the way, one of the most underrated producers.
Oh, yeah. And part of that is just we haven't told our story well
I was going to say, I don't think it's not. I think some of his people, he's not braggadocious, right?
Not.
But he could walk in the room and put up his plaques and put up all his accolades. He doesn't move
genius,
like that.
bro.
He doesn't move like that.
Yeah, I just knew I was outmatched because I wasn't the producer that was going to walk in and make a beat. Not when I met him. I probably could have evolved into it.
Yeah.
But if you tell him, look, we got to get this done in a month and it's got to be like this, it's done in a month.
Right.
And it's like that and even better.
Right.
Like beyond your expectations.
Right.
And so that's very hard to do.
Can I pause on something you said though? Because I think there's something right there that could be missed that is such a gem. You saw and acknowledged how much better his production skills were than yours.
Yeah.
And then decided, well, let me use this other ability I have to grow something with him.
Yeah.
That right there, right?
And that wasn't his idea. He was cool with me producing.
Right.
I just felt like I wouldn't have the time to do both really well. Because as a producer, even as it's easier now than it was. And I don't mean that I don't mean the creative idea. I just mean getting your ideas out are easier now in production, right?
Yes. Back then, Lord,
you had to really dig,
right? And
you might dig forever on an idea.
Yes.
So now you can
literally in crates. Which was fun, by the way, but it's so much easier.
Or worse yet, you can make AI do it by explaining.
Oh, it's just I mean, back then we literally had crates of records, y'all, right? Pulling out wax, putting it on the turntable, trying to check it out, sample it.
Whatever happens next, AI is a part of it.
Yeah.
So, but to get back to the original question, I think now, back in the day when I was first starting, it was just about let's make music,
right? And
it doesn't matter what you got going on. Also, it wasn't during the time we were streaming, so it's different now.
Yeah.
But back then, it was let's find the cheapest way to press CDs.
Yeah.
Let's go sell them. And it was just a different time. And now, with all the things I've been through with music and the way it is now, I think what I'm looking for is, what are you trying to be as an artist? Do you know your brand? Do you know your target? Are you clear on your direction? In Christian, that's always an important question because sometimes they want to be R&B, hip hop, and don't want to be Christian. Sometimes they just want to be Christian. And now that matters a little more because the algorithm builds around your insertion in the music. So if you come in and go, yo, I want everything to be Christian, right? And then decide in there that, man, I really want to expand beyond that. It's going to be tougher because you built your crowd a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So
the algorithm kind of has you boxed in at that point.
Yeah. Well, with Byron, we were dealing with that.
Got it. What was he boxed into?
Christian rap.
Okay.
Because originally he started there.
Okay.
He didn't really get all the way in, but he was starting to get in there.
Right.
And then decided he wanted to do R&B. And so at that point we had to make a decision, what are we going to do? We've invested all this time into him. We love him. And we chose to stay with him. And he chose to keep moving that direction. And he's doing great.
So did you have to do a full rebrand?
No, it is a rebrand.
Okay.
Not name-wise. But just the look and the feel.
In the systems. And inside the systems.
And then he had to deal with, because, some of his stuff has been, a little more unexpected from us, right?
Yes.
And so the fans he did have.
There were those moments. There were a few records that we got. We said, well,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's his creative expression, and
Yeah, yeah.
we're a little different. We're full service as a label, so
Yeah.
we have other artists, but it's hard, like when you make those transitions. But that's what he really loves doing, and
Right.
and he's actually telling a story. It's going a different direction, but he's telling like a story of being hurt and getting through it.
Yeah.
And he's had this idea for a minute, so
It's good.
and he's on tour.
Such a
he's,
nice guy too, though. Such a
Yeah.
nice dude. Yeah.
And he is. But all that to say, like, I look for like a clear direction now. So,
Mhm.
but sometimes an artist needs about 5-6 years to figure that out too. In music, they change their minds, like going to college. Go to college, like, I want to be an engineer.
Right.
And you get in there, like, man, I kind of like astronomy.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not going to be an engineer, or maybe I'll be an engineer for astronomy.
Right.
I don't know what
What makes you
Yeah.
in those early stages? So it sounds like you can see the strategy where they want to go. You can see their vision.
Yeah.
What makes you say maybe I should step back from this one?
The biggest thing is personality for me.
Mm.
Like, my challenge with people is personal, like the personal conflict of personality differences.
Got
right?
it.
So if somebody is just not in my world of comfort to work with, at this point in my life, I don't want to work with them.
Got it.
Right. And not because I don't like them or because I feel they're wrong. I can just tell we're not a good match.
Got it.
And that's not an indictment on them. It's just, if they're a really large talent, maybe, but it's just not worth the money.
Yeah.
To put myself in that position.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, it doesn't mean they're wrong. It's just we just don't line up.
Yeah. You just don't line up.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like a good fit.
You know how that feels. Like,
Totally.
it just isn't worth it. You just don't look forward to it.
Absolutely.
And I think anyone that's worked with anyone they feel like that with can understand. Like, I'll just say this, like, your piece down the road is more important. You're going to make money.
Right.
And there are opportunities you might miss because the person you want to work with just doesn't really, you meet them and go, oh.
Right. And by the way, this is my perception in, let's call it, even keeled times. We're
Right.
going to have highs and lows. So if this is how you are now,
on the high.
on the high, right?
It might be a high.
Right, might be the high.
Right, yeah.
What happens when we hit a low spot?
That's the part I fear.
Right.
Because I experienced a few low spots with artists back in the day, right? And it's just not fun, man. It's my intention is never to be that guy for an artist, right? Never to create a conflict or an issue. And when it happens, I hate it, and it does.
Yeah.
You're going to have conflict. It's not like, and when we say conflict, we're just talking about differences and
Yes.
not like we was fighting and beefing. It's just like more like we just don't get along. We don't see it the same,
Right.
and I had to understand that's okay.
Right.
Right. So it took me a while to be like, it's all right. Like,
Yes.
you're not going to line up with everybody. It's okay. In my effort to try to appease people,
Right.
as a business guy, just doesn't work sometimes.
So they get right. So let's assume, you get signed.
Mhm.
It feels like you have, rapport.
Yeah.
It feels like you can work together strategically. And hopefully this is helpful for other artists that may be watching that aren't working with you or aren't working with the label per se. How do you start to build? How do you start to develop a strategy with that artist in terms of what we're going to create together and how we're going to take it to market? What are some of the steps you go through?
I think we so Amplify is different,
Mhm.
right? RMG has a direction we're going, and we're about to start going that way. But Amplify is built around the artist vision.
Mhm.
So it's really about you. So let's say, you have all these different walks of life artists, right? You got the YPs up in New York, really going hard. You got, Tory in St. Louis, and he's
Yes.
doing the Indie Tribe stuff and big songs with everybody, doing the stuff with Hovey and Forrest Frank. And Tory has a label too
Yes.
that he hasn't announced, but he has one.
Really? Towards your showing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Has an
Nice.
artist, Kamani Jones is his artist. We're about to drop a song with him. Then you got your John Keeps, so you have all these different
Mm-hmm.
types of artists doing different things. So it's really like, well, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And to be honest, a lot of them haven't asked themselves that question.
Got it.
Like the $2 million question.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of them haven't sat down and said, where am I trying to go? And I remember when Derek really started thinking about it, because I think that's what created Minorville, right? When he started looking at like, what do I want to do with my brand? How do I want to go forward? And he's created longevity.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what artists should be doing, is thinking future. Like, how can we move the ball forward? So that's the biggest thing I care about, is where do you want to be in the next 5-10 years?
Got it. How hard is it to get them to do that when the Spotify algorithm asks for a new song every 6 weeks? I mean, such a dichotomy, right?
It is, man. Like, it's hard because, I know we like to say making music is easier, and that part is true. But being an artist is difficult, right? Because you got to do your content,
right? You
got to have the song, you got to record the song, mix master the song, get the covers, upload it, try to pitch it, try to get your own PR, stay on your socials. So it's tough, man. Like, I think that's the current rules. So the way I look at it is, you have the top layer, which is what you want to do, right? So I want to be a hip hop artist that does Christian, themed moral music,
right?
Or I want to be a all in Christian rapper for the rest of my life. That's two different challenges, but with the same challenge in a different way.
Yes.
So if you want to be in hip hop as a Christian, then you have to build out that terrestrial thing and get out and get the venues like what Dill just did. He just did all that, right? He went out and toured, and it was successful. Looked really good. And that's what we need. If you're a Christian guy, you got to think, or a Christian rapper person, you got to think, all right, well, how are you going to stay in the church for a long time? Because the church is going to be what brings you in now for your performances and for your chances to connect with fans. So you got to think, how can you stay relevant there for the next 10, 15 years?
What you just talked about is not a subtle distinction. And I think we should go a little deeper on both of those, because I think some people see this, okay, wait a minute, hold up. What's the difference between the hip hopper that's a Christian in that audience and the Christian rapper in that audience? How break both of them down a little bit in terms of what they look like. And let's use some examples. Yeah.
So the Christian rapper, there's more artists that are starting to want to chart in Christian again, and there's reasons for that. But I can't really think of off top who I would call a Christian rapper.
Would you think Hovey? I mean, Hovey has Christian worship songs.
I was going to say Hovey. Yeah, I think Hovey is definitely in that lane.
Yeah,
that's not to say that he can't do venues with him, but saying in the world he's in now, he's trying. You can tell that he's probably lifting it further to get into a broader base.
Like you could see, what's the guy in Dallas with the big church, the mega church? Blinks a lot. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I can't think of his name.
Lake. Is it Lakewood?
I think that's
that church is ginormous. Yeah. I mean, 20,000. I think that church can seat. Like you could see Hovey. You could see him bringing Hovey out.
Yeah,
isn't my good friend Hovey, right? And Hovey comes out and does like 2 or 3 songs. Like I could literally see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's also been able to do venues, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the youth groups, the college. I mean, we used to do that, right? So you're bringing that in. Then there's the other direction where you're actually just selling tickets to people to come out from a venue that doesn't really involve you calling the church and saying, hey, can you tell your youth group to come to this? Or, this is like direct marketing to fans to come to you.
And that's what you mean by the rapper who is a Christian really taking that track.
Yeah, I feel like that's the road we're on, right? Like we've had the desire to build that out for a while. And I think that's what has to happen next for our culture to move forward.
Right.
And I see it happening, right? I see, Morgan from WME has been really proactive trying to find these venues. Caleb went out. I heard it did pretty well. Mission did a couple. And what happens then is guys start hitting up their cities and they bring out people in their cities, you know, and then it creates more noise. And it's looking more like it should right now.
Got it.
If I'm being honest, this is probably the most terrestrial I've seen Christian rap ever.
Yeah.
In my experience.
Yeah.
And
Caleb's packing some decent places out.
Yeah.
And, you would consider Dilly in that second category too, rapper who's Christian.
I think so.
Terrestrial approach.
Yeah. I think he definitely can. I mean, he started it really just building it local and built up a really dope following. And I think that he can. I mean, he just did it. Like he's able to do it. Yeah.